Christina Vessa, welcome to the Underground Society podcast.
This is the best day of my life. I went to college for breaking news reporting. So I run Dubstep FBI the way that I ran that newsroom.
How have the roles kind of formed for you guys within that project?
I'm the editor-in-chief. Yesie's really our lead on socials. And then Joe is our security guard.
Joe's a monster.
I look up to him so much.
What do you think has been the biggest growth catalyst for you guys?
God, I hate Instagram's algorithm. And no one really asks this question because people are like, oh, it's the two girls who banged on the side of the cliff. By the dino's butthole. Anyways, yes, you might be a little bit uncomfortable, but literally 99.9999% of the time, they're not even thinking about you.
You guys have set a great example.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank God I'm not selling mortgages for a living.
I also want to talk about Millennial Momentum.
That's crazy. I just felt something really magical about that moment. This is where I'm supposed to be right now.
Holy shit, all right. You guys are doing a whole lot of things right.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Christina Vessa, welcome to the Underground Society podcast. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be back on the pod.
Yeah, welcome back. We were just talking about this, but 2 years since you were first on, I think.
Yeah, and it was awesome when you had us on because we got to talk about everything that motivated us.
Yeah, and a lot of you guys we've both grown exponentially, and you've started other businesses outside of Dubstep FBI, but I think I just want to kind of do a catch up first of what you guys have accomplished with Dubstep FBI, because you guys have grown tremendous amounts since we've last talked. We were just a couple thousand followers, and now I would say you're one of the leading publications in dubstep, at least. So
oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah. So since the first days of kind of starting your podcast and stuff like that, and starting the publication, what has been some of the major growth that you guys have had? What have you guys accomplished since then?
Yeah, well, it really seemed back in August, the 10K mark on Instagram. I mean, that's something that people work their whole careers to get 10K on Insta. So that once that came, I feel the months after that, we really hit a groove. So for me, it's the national positioning and the international positioning, really like you said. I mean, the name recognition is there, but after that 10K mark, I feel we finally had out-of-state promoters hitting us up to help promote their shows and help them sell tickets. And we've had guest mixes from artists, I want to say in 6 or 7 different countries so far.
Damn, nice.
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's one thing that I've dabbled in. I've had some other people on that aren't from the States, but that's a big move for you guys promoting shows that are in other countries. That's huge.
Yeah, no, and that's really where it shows that there's a value add to be made when we have Code Lockdown down in Florida hitting us up hey, we're throwing the biggest New Year's Eve event we've ever done, we want Dubstep FBI to be on this, what's it gonna take, sick. Kind of thing. And then I don't know if you just saw, we announced the Grocery Boys Bash. Yeah.
Who's all a part of that? Sweet Tooth? Who else?
Yeah, so the Grocery Boys is a collective of trench culture, video gamers, content creators, and it's, Sweet Tooth was kind of one of the founders, and then it's Black Jesus, Jay Moss, all those guys,
I know it's not just you running Dubstep FBI, it's also shout out Yesenia, shout out Joe. The three of you kind of had not only that, but other projects as well. We'll talk about that later. But
totally.
How have the roles kind of formed for you guys within that project? Because I know for me, it's pretty much just me and I have an editor. But for you guys also, you're not just a podcast either. So you guys have other things that you guys work on. You're just saying, the promotion for other shows and stuff. What do you guys each individually do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for those who don't know, I have a journalism background.
Okay.
So, I went to college for breaking news reporting. I ran the student paper at Colorado State University. So I run Dubstep FBI the way that I ran that newsroom. Really, I just think of it as I'm the editor-in-chief. So I'm out here doing a lot of our content direction on the site. And then Yesie's really our lead on socials. And she's also our lead on editing the podcast and doing video type stuff, things like that. And then Joe is really our advisor. So he's he always jokes I'm the one behind the scenes. I don't want my face on anything. It's you girls. It's women owned. He's just kind of the voice of reason for us, so that not only because sometimes people do try to take advantage of us, but he just kind of is there to guide us through the financial stuff. He helps keep our books in order, and he's you girls should be setting aside 1/5 of it for tax, and helped us with the business accounts and things like that. So it's really I'm the editorial direction. Yesie is the video editing and socials.
Creation, almost, yeah.
Exactly. And then Joe also, like, we joke that he's our security guard.
Yeah. Joe's a monster. So
Yeah, he is
he's
a monster.
Mountain of a man.
Absolutely. I call him Brave Dad for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And even like, I think I was at the Wasteland stage where I ran into you guys at EDC.
Oh my God, you did? Oh, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
it's hard to see you small little girls in the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
but if you were standing next to Joe, I'm like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I recognize that dark head and really nice shoulder blades. Yeah, that's his natural habitat. So I'm glad you ran into us there.
Yeah, for sure. I guess my next question is has been your favorite part of running Dubstep FBI? What has been like I love this about it, and this is what, even on the days that are, rough or whatever, we're having some, we're going through some struggles, but whatever, this part of it, what part is that for you that you love the most?
Honestly, like, it really comes down to helping upcoming artists reach their supporters. And it's actually two-sided. So you look at it from the artist perspective, like, a lot of the artists that we're writing about, they have never had press coverage before. This is like like I said, their first news clipping. They've never had a brand backing their music. And like, there's really just not a lot of saturation in the dubstep publication market anyways. So it's easy for us to do that. But also, the flip side of that coin, I experienced that last month when, our lead editor, Dustin, he came to me and he said, hey, I met this girl, Kelly, on the internet who she really wants to write for us. She submitted this paper on why she wants to write for us. I read through it. And at the bottom of that, she was just saying how, like, yes, she's an engineer, but she's always loved EDM and writing. And so, like, it would be helping her fulfill her passions. And so for me, it's like, I've grown this brand into something that literally changes people's lives. Like, I have so much power in that aspect where it's like, the more that I give, the more that I receive. Like, the more upcoming artists I put on, like, I'm thinking of like Alien Park and Toxic and all of those super talented producers. Like, I just love giving people a platform, and it's free for me to do. Like,
you mentioned Alien Park. Alien, killer music. I love their music.
Oh my God, dude. He is literally up next. Like, it's kind of a shame that he's stuck in Venezuela, because, like, he would be touring America.
Is that where he's from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's in Venezuela right now.
Okay. Yeah, his sound design, even his last EP, was crazy.
Oh my God, Space Time? Yeah. Literally one of my favorite songs ever. I freak out every time I hear that.
Yeah. What would you say your favorite memory so far over the last couple of years with the publication would be?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I would just say, like, some of the meetups that we've had at Lost Lands, that first one that you were at by the Dino's Butthole, that to me is a standout moment in my heart, because we had like 35, 40 people show up. And like half of them I was like, oh my God, my internet friends, like, I haven't met you before, we're finally meeting. And it really just warms my heart that this brand that I literally never thought would become anything more than a SoundCloud page for mixes has grown into something that, like, people rock our merch. Like, we have this community of people who I can lean on when I'm having a bad day or when I want to share music and stuff. Like, that highlight moment for me came together at Lost Lands in 2021 during our meetup.
Awesome. Yeah, it was awesome meeting you guys then too. Yeah. What do you think has been, you're talking about growing this brand into something that you never thought imaginable. What do you think has been like the biggest like growth catalyst for you guys?
Honestly,
in my opinion, like, you guys are freaking fast. Like, all of a sudden you guys are at 10K. I was like, holy shit. All right. They're making a statement.
No, for real. And you know what it is? Like, no one really asks this question, but I, in my heart, feel like it's because me and Yesenia are the faces of the brand, right? So it's a lot easier to grow a brand where you are the face of it, and like, you can mix like your personality, and like, I can just create content by taking selfies,
Yep.
So in like those dumb TikToks that we post and things like that, like, those are a huge reason why we're so successful, is because people are like, oh, it's the two girls who headbanged on the side of the cliff, It's
and
just
there's
like,
no one else you're just that alone. There's no one really else that does that. So as far as like two girls,
it's the two girl. Okay, yeah. So it's the two girls thing, bottom line, and then it's also just how much we put our faces out there, and like, we've become thought leaders almost in dubstep.
That's been a huge learning curve for me too. I was almost embarrassed to post about what I was doing in the EDM space on my personal stuff, and now it's just like, like, even if you don't like it, like, this is what my life is, so I'm going to share that.
Yeah, no, and that's really interesting how you mentioned that you felt kind of embarrassed about it, because I did too. And I think what it is it's called imposter syndrome, right? Where you're you know, the human brain convinces you like, oh, I'm not smart enough to apply to this university because their admission standards are so high and only nerds go there and blah, blah, blah. So your brain like convinces yourself that you're not good enough when in actuality, you're going to go to that university and get straight A's. Like it's the same kind of thing. It's like you are in this podcast seat right now talking about EDM because that's what you're good at. And that's what people come to seek out from you. And so that was a hurdle for me, is like getting over that initial step of like, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed, or like, the biggest thing for me is that we would have these mixes come out at the beginning and like they wouldn't get many plays and it would really bother me and I would feel really bad. But you know what? Like that's just comes with the territory.
Yeah, everyone starts some. I mean, even something like Excision at one point in time released songs that only got 1 or 2 plays. So
yeah, okay, let's remind everyone of that.
It's a hard thing to wrap your head around, because you see them, you see all these people at the top and they've already had their moment and they're just riding that wave, versus the people that are like out here grinding like and not get, haven't hit that point in their career yet.
Yeah, and to your point, I saw this thing. I follow a lot of motivational posts on Instagram. I think one of it was like, you could be working for 23 hours in a day and feel like you're going to give up. But if you keep going on the 24th hour, you're going to strike gold.
Yep.
That's literally it.
A lot of times like, it is consistent. Right before you quit. It is right around the corner. Yeah. No,
exactly. It's like you never know when your gold strike is going to hit. And so that to me is so motivating, because like we talked about earlier, like I overcommitted a little bit with like the extracurriculars and my day job and everything this semester. So it's just about, taking it hour by hour, really, and recognizing when you need a break from the computer.
Yeah. Talking about your plate filling up, I also want to talk about Millennial Momentum, pronounce that correctly. When did that kind of idea come to be? I know obviously you started with Dubstep FBI, but what was kind of like the conceivement of the management side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So about a year after we started Dubstep FBI, it was like Joe was in town. He had lived here in Denver, which is a key part of the story, because Yesenia and I would go over to his house every Friday afternoon and we would have work sessions, as we call them, where it was really just us having fun, listening to hard style, like sending emails. But anyways, so about a year after Dubstep FBI started, all of us were getting hit up by random people, and a lot of people hit us up and they're like, hey, I need advice. Like, I'm an artist. Can you help me with this? Or, hey, like, can you design this thing for me? Or like, I need a new logo. What do I do? It's like X, Y, and Z under the branding, marketing, sales umbrella we kept getting questions about. And so we were all just like, we should start a consulting firm. And like, I mean, it's one of those where like you start one business and then you kind of start another, like you get addicted to it.
Yeah. It's almost like a side hustle on top of the side hustle. That's kind of the same thing that happened to me. I really fell in love with like the graphic design stuff. And now I've helped like some of my other friends or other artists like do logo creation or like whatever it may be. It's like just having a side hustle on top of the side hustle.
Parts of it are kind of rewarding. Sometimes I'm like, why the hell did I agree to this?
Yeah.
But then, so it started out as a consulting firm, and it wasn't even going to be music industry focused. Like one of our biggest clients was a dispensary, and we did a whole rebrand for them and stuff. Like we're just kind of using our day job skills in our consulting firm.
I was curious about that, because for a long time I didn't know what you guys even had day jobs outside of it, and I was like, where did they get all this information? Because like you obviously have proven yourself in knowing what you're doing. I was like, obviously they've done most of this in other fashions, before this, and they're just taking their knowledge and applying it, but. I think that's super cool that you have day jobs that actually help you. It kind of like helps feed each other, because you're learning on both sides of the spectrum. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, in this economy, like, let's be real. I'm paying $1,900 for rent. Like, I really can't live off of music. We don't make any fucking money off of music. Like, I do not make enough money off of music to live the lifestyle that I do. Let's be real. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have a day job?
I have like side hustles, but I mainly do the podcast is like my main focus. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you're starting to monetize a little bit.
Yep, starting to monetize. I started, I'm actually getting into management stuff for myself. That's what I want to do, obviously, long-term career-wise. So fell into some financial stuff. My car went out of commission, and that kind of was a burden this past year. Yeah, but once I get back on track, I will be going to Icon finally.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm going to their music business program, but I'm very much focused. I don't have another direction. I'm trying to make a full-time career out of music. So I know it's going to take longer, but it's the grind. So yeah.
And last I saw you, your artist was actually playing at Temple Denver.
Yeah. Also, my roommate also edited this podcast.
Dude, he's awesome. Shout out to him.
Yeah, love Johnny. Back to the Millennial Momentum stuff. You started as a consulting company. How did that transition? It's now like you manage artists through that now, right? How did that kind of transition into picking up your first artist and getting into that space?
Yeah, good question. So like I said, we were broad at first. It was fine. We were getting random web jobs, whatever. Then Yessie, Joe, and I were like, you know what? Like, we are so valuable in the music space right now. We should probably just get that niche right then and there. So it's like music consulting. So I think it was about, I want to say like 6 months after we originally founded Millennial Momentum, because we were like, number one, we need a new logo. Like, we need a rebrand, which is a rite of passage for a lot of brands that start small. And during that time, we were like, okay, let's set some serious core values here. And let's look at our value proposition and our mission and how we can bring the most to the type of clients that we enjoy serving. So really, it just came down to like, we love the music industry. We love working on music projects. So let's just hit that niche right there, and no more like dispensary projects. Like, we'll take random projects if it makes sense. But it was really like, we kept getting battered with questions about the music industry, and we were just like, it's time to focus in on this. The logo, the new logo that we have with like the crown and stuff like that, we originally told that designer like, hey, we're a music industry firm. Like, some of the original drafts had like speakers and stuff like that in it. So
Cool.
It was about 6 months in.
Well, in your opinion, what do you guys try and do differently? What is your value proposition that you try and set yourself apart?
I would say that it's just the whole like 3-for-1 kind of deal. So, we manage right now, I think it's 5 artists, 3 hard dance artists, and then 2 dubstep artists. So we have 5 really awesome clients. Yeah. And, when we first brought one of them on, a lot of them actually say this. They're like, so I technically have 3 managers now. And we're like, yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's really just the style. So like, we put all of our clients into a group chat. So we'll have like 1 group chat per artist with Yessie, Joe, and I. And then we bring those different expertise. So like, Joe has experience with mergers and acquisitions, and he has a MBA and a petroleum engineering degree. He's so fucking smart. I look up to him so much. Yeah. So he's the like finance engineering side of it. And then I'm the branding and journalism and writing and reporting side of it. And then Yessie is like the sales side of it, because she does software sales for her day job.
Yeah. Very cool.
So it's really just like the 3-for-1 kind of deal.
I think there's a crossover here, but I want to ask because I'm not 100% sure. But I know Dubstep FBI started as Dubstep, and you've now branched out into just Filthy Beat Inspectors, and you've covered other, drum and bass. You've started covering hardstyle, stuff like that. Did you guys start branching off and away from just the dubstep scene and into like the other genres because of the consulting and because of the management side? What was kind of the game plan there? Why did you guys? I thought it was super awesome that you guys started branching away and doing other genres. But what was kind of the reasoning for that?
Really, it was supernatural because Joe, he loves hardstyle and D&D.
Mr. Hardstyle. Yeah.
So ever since I've known him, he's been like the hardstyle guy, and so that really just started to rub off on Yessie and I. And I started into EDM with OG trance, like vocal trance, Armin van Buuren type stuff. So we really thought like, okay, looking at our 5-year and 10-year goal, like for Dubstep FBI, I wanted to drop the dubstep part and see how we could expand outside of other genres.
Right.
And I mean, it was natural. It's like you have Filthy Beat Inspectors. That could be House FBI. That could be Hardstyle FBI. And really, it was like one day, I think it was in 2021, Yessie was like, we should probably just grab the Instagram handle.
Yeah.
And like, we all were kind of like, well, none of us really have time to manage that account, but let's grab it anyways. And that's where we put, because we do content too, where it's like, I'll be like, this morning I posted a TikTok of me driving to work blasting like up tempo, and it's like, where does that hard dance content, that house content have a home? It doesn't really fit our audience on Dubstep FBI, because like, let's be real, the Dubstep FBI audience, like, they're looking for IDs, they're looking for rail snapping shit, like they're not looking for like hard style, really.
Most of the dubstep producers, at least that I know, not all of them, but though my immediate people that I hang out with that are dubstep producers, that most of them don't even like listening to hardstyle. So
literally, yeah. And so it was like, well, we want the same brand to grow, but we don't want to alienate that one niche segment that we've niched ourselves into so well.
Right. Yeah, I think it was a smart idea, obviously, to completely niche down to even like a specific genre. I think that's where a lot of my struggles have come up, is trying to find the balance of including everyone. But I think that as far as like growth, that was a really good strategy. If it was a strategy to start with just dubstep and then later on branch out slowly. Like, if I could have gone back and done it over again, I probably would focus on a single genre first and then branch out. So kudos to you guys.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't make any money off of Dubstep FBI. I'm in the negative.
Yeah, right. Yeah, same.
Do you, so then I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you focus your podcast on mostly artists? Because I think you've gotten
No.
industry people, right?
Yeah, no, definitely not. I've had influencers. I have my focus is people who want to be in the industry. So whatever
Okay.
facet of that industry is, that's why I have a plethora of different artists on or different guests on, not just artists, influencers, managers. Even I had a life coach on who was my
Oh,
life
hell
coach
yeah.
back in the day. Used to work at Icon, has music experience. But anyone who's involved in any form of business, music business,
Cool.
I like to have on just because I think it would be a disservice, or even photographers too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a disservice for the audience to, if they're coming to my platform to find out, information of, how can they become better at whatever their goals are. It would be a disservice to them to only have like if I only covered like artists, then it would be like if they're a photographer, then the show wouldn't really help them. So I want to.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be a way to help more people, basically.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
goes down to like your mission as a
Yeah.
brand too.
Yep.
Like you're in EDM, but you're specifically focused at that one audience who wants
Yep.
to be in the industry. And so,
Yep.
yeah, it's like your North Star. It's your guiding
Mhm.
light. And that's why it's so important to set core values and a mission for your brand.
And I didn't
because-
have that for the first like year of my project, so I had
That's so
no idea.
crazy.
Yeah. So it kind of just slowly formed into that over time.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is like that's why we rebranded with Dubstep FBI.
Mhm.
Because at first, it was just like, oh, I want to make a SoundCloud page where like my homies who have a tractor and they're chopping,
Yeah.
Cision and Millennium can put their mixes. But yeah, and then we didn't realize like, okay, this is actually a business. Like you
Yeah.
have to think of it as a business with
Yeah.
guiding points and stuff.
Yeah, and I always had that aspect of it. I think was like I always knew I wanted to turn it into a business because I've always had my parents are entrepreneurs, and it's just kind of the way
Yes.
I was brought up. But yeah, I didn't even know really what my mission was when I started. It's like I just want to interview people in the EDM industry, and then it was slowly like got better at interviewing, and then it slowly grew from there. But
Absolutely.
yeah, back to what we were talking about with millennium. I can't say it. Yeah. Who are some of your artists that you guys take care of? Who is on your
Yeah.
team?
All right. So we have 3 super freaking talented hard dance artists. Number 1, who actually was our first client, Hartshorn. So
Oh, yeah.
he does UK hardcore, happy hardcore. So it's like a really
I love his
fun.
happy hardcore. I listen to. I actually follow him on Spotify. He's great music.
He's so great. He's
Yeah.
pumping out music. It's fun
Yeah.
to work with him. So we have him, and then we picked up Thai Guys back in August. So that's the raw style duo out of LA. And we have Death Code, who's formerly Skelism.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he's doing more raw style lane type stuff. Like he did hard dance early on in his career, and then he shifted to dubstep with Skelism, and then that project fell off. And so he's doing mostly raw style right now and up tempo. And then 2 dubstep artists. One of them is Thrasha. So she's an upcoming female dubstep producer out of Denver, and she's fucking killing it right now. And then we have Anti-Hero.
She's super tall.
Oh my gosh, yeah, she is a giant. She makes me look so small. She's got to be like
Comparative to
6'3".
Joe, how tall is she?
I want to say that she actually haven't seen them in the
Close-ish?
same room.
Okay.
She's probably an inch or two
Yeah.
smaller. Yeah.
And Joe's like over 6 foot, so that's crazy.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it's super cool. I mean, she's an LGBTQ producer, so we're just kind of trying to like really help her get her name out there. That's why we're using our platforms a lot to help
Yeah.
elevate her.
I think
So,
that's awesome too. And another, I kind of saw you guys doing this, and I wanted to apply it for myself because I was like, how do I cross over the content creation and then also the career of being a manager? Like, how am I going to make that crossover? And by watching you guys have set a great example of like how to go about doing that. So thank you.
I mean, thank you for watching. That means
Yeah.
a lot. It means
Yeah.
we're doing something right.
You guys are doing a whole lot of things right.
Us just headbanging in the back alley on TikTok.
Yeah,
Or
right.
something. We're like, that's crazy.
You gotta have the I don't know, something I've learned too. You gotta have like the micro content of just like that could reach the masses, almost like casting a net to reach the masses to later bring the people who are really supposed to be a part of your core community. You gotta funnel them in. So
Yeah.
you guys have done a good job with that with your reels and stuff, even though they are corny
Thank you.
here and there.
They're
but-
corny, it's like video meme. And that was the struggle too when we first started.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, the memes do the best out of anything we post, but we're not a meme page.
Well, you see even like EDM Trainer, you see some of the big boys, EDM Maniac, like they post memes, they post
Too.
random reels, and it does well. It helps them grow.
It's like user curated content or
Mhm.
whatever they're calling it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with everything that you have, you're juggling and all that stuff, I guess I just want to ask, like, what has been the biggest challenge trying to balance all of these different business ventures. You're in charge of not only what we just talked about, but you are a part of running Welcome Records. You're a part of having a day job. You're a part of, running Black Canvas, which we're going to be talking about today as well. Yes. It's a lot to balance. Like, how do you do it?
Dude, I would just say I have to be very aware of my mental health, and I have to prioritize that. Number one, and like leaning on my friends too, and speaking up when I'm overwhelmed, because I am one of those like visual or verbal love languages. So things really resonate with me.
Yeah.
Words of affirmation. That's exactly it. So I have to speak about things in order to feel better about them. And I would say the biggest challenge is saying yes to too many things and not being picky with what projects I accept, because, I know that I can complete every project that comes to me at 110%, but I also need to recognize that I don't want to work, 18 hours a day, and it's not worth $100 for a project that's going to take me 5 hours, stuff like that.
Definitely not. Yeah.
And so like, I would say recognizing when I'm stressed and taking a bath, or going to Yesie's and hot tubbing or something like that is really important to me. I told Joe and Yesie, I was like, truthfully, you guys, like, I'm really freaking overwhelmed, and I'm going to need to lean on you a bit these coming weeks until Miami Music Week is over, because I can't do everything and I need your guys' help. So, yeah.
What caused you, I guess, I know you mentioned previously before the interview that you felt like you had some self-limiting beliefs, that you didn't think that you were the type of person to be successful and own your own company. What kind of, I guess, helped you get past that self-limiting belief of, and now believing in yourself and growing as much as you have? And like, obviously now that the ball has started and you're doing so well and you've seen success now, but how did you kind of get over that hump of like this limiting beliefs in yourself?
Yeah. The imposter syndrome, really, I got over it by expressing those fears that were inside of me to someone else. And I expressed those to Yesie. I said, hey, I'm scared to start a business in the music industry, specifically dubstep, because I think that people are going to judge me as to why I'm starting it and why I'm around. And she said, hell no, we're doing it together. I'm on board with you. Let's do it. And that literally changed my life. So I think that, and there, I listen to a lot of like Lewis Howes and like Mindset Mentor.
Yeah, School of Greatness.
Yes. Oh my God, I listen to him every day. Yeah. So I would just say a lot of that is that you have to verbalize your fears. Yeah. Like, yes, they're really freaking scary when you have them in your head and you're thinking about them all day and you're up all night. But you have to either write them down or tell them to people, because they're not going to...
Have you gone to therapy? Have you done any
I've never done therapy, actually. I just don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah. I guess I have a little bit of a different story when it comes to that, because my parents put me in. I had divorced parents and had kind of a rougher childhood. So luckily my parents put me in at a younger age. So I started going to therapy when I was like probably 7, 8, and like in and out, obviously not the whole time, but like I think that's another important piece in talking to people or whatever, getting someone who's not biased to your situation, you don't have a relationship or previous relationship with, to get like an outsider's perspective of like, okay, maybe they can see something a little differently or whatever. So I was curious if you had ever gone to therapy. Do you do anything else as far as like reading or like meditating or anything like that?
Yeah. To your point really quick, just to close that.
Yeah.
I do. I really do need to do therapy. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I need that. So this is my call to action.
Yeah. Do it. Especially if you have like,
to be ashamed of.
If you have health, no, especially not now. Most people are like encouraging each other to go to therapy. Yeah. And I encourage anyone who's listening to me right now, definitely, if you need it, go. Please go. Even if you don't need it. I know some people that, I've seen people, or successful marriages even, they'll go to marriage counseling when like everything's perfectly fine. Just like monthly checkups, just to keep their health.
Healthy.
Yeah, definitely.
I used to be really big into yoga, and I've recently picked that up this new year. So every Sunday morning, I turn it on my TV over here. I turn YouTube on, and I look up. It's like Yoga with Adrienne. I'm doing the 30-day challenge right now.
Cool.
I'm not doing it every day, but I'm doing it once or twice a week. And I do that when I'm super freaking stressed, and I'm like, I need to put my phone on silent in the other room. And I need to just
disconnecting from social media is so important, or anything, just disconnecting.
It is. And I think that we should normalize that, and don't feel bad that you're not posting every freaking day, because it's toxic and it eats your mind up. So,
in reality, you don't really need to post that much either. Like, as long
and
as
the
you have
algo doesn't even like that all the time.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
God, I hate Instagram's algorithm. I know it's listening right now.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like ads and stuff. Like if you people, I know it's not. I know it's mainly based off like keywords and stuff. And Google, catches the keywords, but a lot of people think like the conspiracy of like the phone's listening. I just talked about like toasters. Now I'm getting a bunch of ads for toasters. Like,
It's true. I think, well, and I think I pinpointed what it was. I think it's the Facebook app has the microphone enabled.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did a bunch of research a couple of years ago. I was like, why the hell am I getting ads for Clorox bleach after I was talking about Clorox bleach? And it's that microphone thing on your Facebook app.
So turn that off.
Meta's listening to you, and it has all of these apps: WhatsApp, Insta, Facebook Messenger. So turn it off on all of those.
Yes. What are some tips, I guess, that you have for people who may be feeling stuck or maybe having some imposter syndrome or struggling with that?
Yeah, that's pretty challenging, like with the imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to like you'll never know if you don't try.
Yeah, you just have to do it.
And then it also comes down to, yes, you might be a little bit uncomfortable, but that really means that you're growing, right? Like I would rather have a job where instead of being on my phone behind the counter all day, I am, designing things and working with clients, and like it's kind of struggling and things like that. I just feel like you should have a growth mindset. But as far as like ways to do self-care and things like that, I think you can think of self-care as 7 or 8 different buckets, right? So you have like physical well-being, spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, environmental well-being. There's all sorts of things that go into your mental health. And it doesn't just mean like, oh, I have to go to the gym, or, oh, I have to read a book. It's like, no, self-care is like eating broccoli.
Whatever you want.
Instead of, it's like eating
Whatever
healthy.
You make it.
Exactly. And like having a good roof over your head and stuff like that. But really for me, I was going through a really, really hard time back at the end of September, and I just journaled. Like I didn't journal a lot, but it was like 2 or 3 or 4 times that month, like really like a couple, like 15 or 20 minutes each time. But I think that just helped me because I needed to get everything out of my head, swirling around and onto paper in like a bulleted list. That's just the kind of person
Have you ever like something I just did yesterday? Was I wrote a letter to myself dated 10 years from now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Have you ever done anything like writing a letter to your future self?
No, it's genius, but scary. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it was a very emotional process. Like I was like in tears yesterday doing it because I was just like, first of all, what do I want? Like, what are my goals in the next 10 years? I really listed out 10 goals. And like also just like a letter to myself of like, first of all, I'm proud of how far you've come. And second of all, like I can't even imagine what's to come in the next between now and 10 years. So whatever that is, I hope I hope you're still on fire about life. I hope you're still like chasing your dreams, blah, blah, blah. Like just something as simple as that, and listing out some goals for yourself is like a huge thing, I think, for imposter syndrome. It helped a lot yesterday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just like thinking of how far you've come, right?
Yeah.
2 years
and being
ago.
grateful.
Being grateful for how far you've come. And also like just being grateful to work in an industry that is about music. And like at the end of the day, it's like, this is my rave fam,
Yeah.
Like, it's overwhelming as hell. And I have a million things to do and projects and shit related to it now because I created that for myself. But at the bottom of the day, they're just ravers. Like they're ravers and they're really relatable people. And I just have to keep reminding myself like, thank God I'm not selling mortgages for a living or something like that, or like, thank God I'm not like dealing in like the trauma section in the ER or like that stuff is like stressful.
Yeah.
Like EDM stress is not as stressful.
No, that's fun stress.
That's fun relatively, on the stress spectrum.
Are you that we don't have to get into this too much, but are you like spiritual at all? Like how do you practice like spirituality?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So my grandma was Greek Orthodox, my mom was raised Hungarian Orthodox. And I was actually not raised religious at all. So my parents didn't really I've only been in a church like 2 or 3 times in my life. In like for actual services, like 2 or 3 times. But it does help me to talk to God sometimes. Like when I'm having a really, really tough day and I lay my head down on my pillow, like I will talk to God. I'm going to be like, God, I need you to help me right now. So that helps a lot. And then as far as like spirituality, I'm a huge believer in the energy that you put out into the world is the energy that you'll receive back. And I'm like the law of attraction, basically, and the law of
karma.
Manifesting. Karma. You got to treat people how you want to be treated. And I might have told you this story. Did I tell you the story about me being at Kayzo's set in 2018 at EDC?
I don't think so. You might have, but I don't remember. So tell it again.
Yeah. Well, like, so basically, I can prove that the law of attraction and the law of manifestation is true because of this experience. 2018 EDC, it was my first EDC Vegas ever. Traveled all the way there. It was day 2, 2 a.m. Kayzo goes on Cosmic Meadow. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best day of my life. I love him so much. I was just like feeling so amazing in that moment. And like, then I continued to like, I saw him at Tomorrowland the next year. And like, I continued to like be one of his biggest fans and just like let his music like keep me in a good mood and heal me and stuff. And then in 2021, he hit me up to work for him.
Yeah,
so,
what the heck?
and I can tell because that moment in 2018 at Cosmic Meadow, you know how sometimes you're just like at a rave in a crowd and you're like, everything is fine, right? And like, I'm where I should be. This is my moment right now. Like Earth has my back. Like this is where I'm supposed to be right now. I just felt something really magical about that moment.
I feel like that all the time at Lost Lands, so yes.
Yes, it's that same feeling. And it's just like you really do attract, you speak things into existence and you can create your own reality in that way. It's very powerful.
That's awesome. So. Yeah. Talk a little bit about, I'm actually curious how that even happened. How did you get that opportunity to work for Welcome?
Yeah, back when COVID first started and we first started Dubstep FBI, April 24th is Yessie's birthday. And so we were like, hey, we've been doing all these live streams because we're in a pandemic. And we want to do an all-female live stream for Yessie's birthday.
Oh,
and
cool.
so Yessie goes on Instagram and she finds 4 really amazing, talented, upcoming female DJs. One of them was Lays. And so we basically discovered her before she was like, got picked up by Kayzo's manager.
That's where I first saw her was through you guys. Yeah.
See? Yeah. So we were like, yo, this girl is sick. Put her on our live stream, you know, spent like an hour working with her on trying to get the Zoom link and the OBS and all that, came friends with her. And then a year goes by and we're like, hey, we want to interview her on our podcast and get her on a guest mix. Like we hit her up and she's like, hey, I actually just got picked up by new management. You have to ask them. So we hit up her manager and we're like, hey, we are the only women in the scene making our voices heard. Can we get Layla on a mix and an interview? Like, this is why it's important. And he was like, yeah, go for it. And then it was so successful, the like mix and interview combo, that he had his eye on us. And then 3 months later, he reached out to me and was like, hey, would you be interested in running Kayzo's label?
Sweet. Perfect.
Yeah, because it was because of Dubstep FBI, really. And
that's super cool.
It's just crazy to think because if I was too scared to start Dubstep FBI, I would not be in this position right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Congrats again. On top of Welcome, you also work for another company called BLNK CNVS, which obviously you're going to be doing a bunch with them coming up in a couple weeks in Miami Music Week.
Ooh.
What was the story of that? Now that you told me the story of Welcome, how did BLNK CNVS, like, you got so many projects, it's wild.
Right, I know. My mom is like, I cannot keep track of all your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one has a story as well. And really it comes down to networking. So one of Joe's best friends, Chris Perry, shout out Chris, he's like big in the industry in Florida. And so I met Chris through Joe and, you know, I had known him for about a year. It was about January of 2022, so about a year ago.
Okay.
Paul Reed, the founder of BLNK CNVS, posted on Facebook and was like, hey, we're looking to hire someone to do our social media leading up to Miami Music Week. Drop recommendations here. Chris Perry hits me up. Hey, Paul Reed, he's a big guy in the industry. I really think you would be great at this job. Like, I really, really, really want you to apply. And I was like, Chris, okay, like, whatever you say, I'll apply. Like, I don't know if I'm qualified, but sure. And then, like, an hour later, I get a call from Paul Reed, the founder. And he basically, we just chatted for a few minutes and he was just like, yeah, we're working together. Let's do it.
Sweet.
And then it was like those 2 months, so February and March leading up to Music Week, I basically had to post like multiple times a day, doing announcements, selling tickets, and then hit the ground. So what I'm doing again this year is going to all of their events that week and posting on socials and stuff like that. So
Got it. What do you work for them year round, or is it pretty much just for like Miami Music Week?
Yeah, I'm a very campaign-oriented person, so I love doing, like, presidential campaigns, like, working on campaigns, so I really only do their Music Week stuff.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
How many events do you guys have going on for Miami Music Week? You said, you know, all their different events. How many is that?
Oh, my gosh. I think this year we're doing 25 over
Holy
the course
shit.
of the 22nd through the 26th.
Damn, 4 days, 25 events?
Dude,
How's that how?
It's like the craziest thing I've ever experienced. And I will say that I think Miami Music Week is probably crazier than EDC Week because
I'd probably say, I'd agree, yeah.
Have you been to Miami Music Week?
I have not, but everything I've seen from it, it seems wild. It seems
It's
like
so
it's like
insane.
next level, yeah.
And like it's cool because since I was in high school here in Lakewood, my friends and I used to live stream Ultra Music Festival in like 2010, and we would geek out over the ASOT tent, like the mega structure on Van Buren, that whole like 8-hour takeover of trance music. Like we would just stream that all day long, and it's so cool, like being able to for it to come full circle. Still haven't been to Ultra, but Miami Music Week at least, like it's sick, you know. 10 years later, now I'm like working in the industry for Miami Music Week.
That's cool. What do you haven't gone to Ultra? What? Were you just too wrapped up in other stuff with running events and stuff, or you just didn't have time to go, or you're there?
Well, yeah. So they're doing like the Music Week events, but they don't really have a role in Ultra at all.
Got it. Okay.
So that's kind of completely separate.
Got it.
And our events, actually, we're doing like 5 or 6 events a day, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's kind of like, you know, if I did go to Ultra, I would just go one day for Kayzo's set and probably not stay the whole time. But yeah. So no Ultra yet, but I'm trying to make it happen this year.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I'd love to go. I know they've moved locations for a while to like some island or something.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember there was like a fiasco of everyone having to walk back to the mainland.
They did a set, I think like a year or two ago, that like Colonel Sanders at KFC played main stage. Did you see that?
What? No. How did I miss that?
If you're watching the YouTube video, I'll post it and I'll make it a part of this interview.
From Kentucky, give it up for DJ Colonel Sanders.
Okay, low key though, like that is genius sponsor placement.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah, wow. That's so cool. Okay, now I'm gonna pop that on the TV after this.
Overall, what are you like most excited for? I know there's a lot of events coming up, and I know that you got a lot of work to do. But what's the fun part in it for you? Because I know there's a lot of stress.
Dude, yeah, the fun part, what keeps me going, is like just that whole week of running around to shows and like meeting new people in the industry, and then I don't even know who half the special guests are half the time. Like last year we were at the Hell Deep pool party and it was in this cool resort. We were leaving the pool party. I was like, okay, Cascade's the special guest. Like, awesome. I'm leaving. I have another party to go to. I walk through the lobby and Armin van Buren is sitting there. I'm just like, oh my God. So it's just special guests.
Way. That's
you
cool.
literally never know who's going to show up. And I think it's just such a cool vibe. It's like spring break, like things are looking up. Being able to be backstage for that and like represent the promoter who's booked Armin van Buren and who's booked Hell Deep and all of that. Like, it's just really cool. It's like I kind of made it, you know? Like it's just that feeling.
I had a similar experience, not in Miami obviously, but in Tahoe at a festival called Base Camp this past summer that I worked at. Slander headlined, and it was the same kind of thing. We were walking like through the lobby, and it was like Derek and Scott were just standing there. I was like, "What? No way!"
You're like, "I gotta talk to them."
Yeah. Fanboy for a second. I just said, "What's up?" I luckily kept my cool, and I'm used to walking up to people and talking to people who are in the industry. So I just like, I think of people who I was with, they're like, "No way!" But I luckily handle myself pretty well in situations like that. So
yeah, Slander even is like a fraction of the size of Armin. I was like shaking when I went up to him because he's been one of my favorite artists for over a decade.
You were just saying, watching the live stream and everything, and like watching him for so many years from how old were you? However old you were, like
2011,
your whole life,
2010.
Yeah. And being able to actually like meet him or see him in person, like it's such a surreal, like full circle moment, I bet.
It's crazy. And that's, again, it's like, it's crazy what could happen when you step out of your comfort zone.
Anything's possible. Anything
Literally.
is possible. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap up here because we are getting close to time. But before we wrap up, do you have any more questions for me?
Honestly, like, I just want to say, I think it's awesome that you're giving artists a platform. Like, you asked me what drives me. Well, I think it's just super cool to see other people in the scene using their platforms to help other artists reach their supporters. Because, like, let's be real, like, I can't interview every artist. Like, I know you can't interview every artist. So I think it's awesome that we have other community members and other tastemakers out there who are sharing their channels with the world and, like, helping connect artists with new supporters. So
I'm so grateful for the, I know it's not super big, but for the little niche that we have with, Bab's Life, with Emma
Yes.
Capotes, like all of them. Like shout out to all of them. Like all the like our little creator niche is so cool, and I
It
think
really
everyone in it is
is.
very very cool people. So I'm thank you for. Yeah, I'm so grateful for you as a friend too.
I know, me too. And it's so cool how you can just meet people on the internet and then
Mhm.
you'll have some of the best moments of your life with them. So
Yeah, and running each other, EDC, running into each other. You know, me going to
No.
Denver, and just kind of running into each other over the years has been really cool.
It has, and I wish that we could have talked more at Temple. I
Yeah.
hate when I meet someone at the club and they're like yelling in my ear. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Well, I will be back for Cyclops Rock, so I don't know if you guys are going to that, but
Oh yeah, when is that?
end of April, the 26th or something.
Sheesh, yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, cool. Well,
I
then
can't
that'll
say
be the
no to
next time
that.
I see you.
Yeah, dude, hit us up. We can
Yeah.
all pregame together. Like, let's hang
Definitely.
out.
I'll be there with a couple friends, but we definitely that'd be
Hell
fun.
yeah, and the weather will be nice. We're actually about to start.
Yes.
It's gonna start blizzarding here. You're probably gonna get it too.
The snow was so cool because I'm from Cali, so we don't really, at least in the valley and stuff, I didn't grow up with snow around me, so it was super cool just being in a city and being like, there's snow everywhere.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to Cali on Friday, and it's supposed to
yeah.
be like one of the coldest, wettest storms they've had in years.
Mhm.
So, wish me luck at Wasteland.
Yeah, yeah, that, and then also I think it was this Dream State got rained out. So did Countdown this year too. The weather's been crazy for SoCal events.
I know. I heard that they're building like a structure over the second stage where all of our artists are playing. So,
Yeah.
hopefully that holds
Hopefully.
up.
Yeah, good luck and congrats with having all three of you guys, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
our entire hard dance roster is
Mhm.
on it, and the Commie Boys who we used to work with. So shout out
yeah.
to them.
So cool.
Yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
Well, where can the listeners find you and support you? I know there's
Yes.
a
Oh my
lot
gosh.
of places they can reach you through.
Top 3, follow us on YouTube or subscribe to us on YouTube.
Mhm.
And then follow us on Insta and TikTok because we have some funny, more TikTok reel type things coming out soon.
Excellent. Sounds good. And I'll link all that in the description, of course. Last final question. I started asking this at the end of every interview. If there's one piece of advice you could tell yourself when you first started on your entrepreneurial route, what would that be?
Stop caring what other people think of you. Like,
Yeah.
I still struggle with this.
Oh
I
my
just-
gosh. Yeah, that would be my answer too. Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, most of the time, like literally 99.99999% of the time, they're not even thinking about you. Like, they literally don't care. They haven't even thought twice about what you posted. They haven't thought twice about what you're doing, who you're with,
Mhm.
why you're doing it, what you're eating, where you are. They care about themselves.
Mhm.
Like, they literally care about themselves and like their girlfriend or like their mom or like their dog or something.
Yep.
No one's thinking about you negatively. So get
Yep.
that shit out of your head.
That was one of, I mean, even just, when I was growing up, I got picked on a lot. And that was a huge, like, I'm so grateful for me stepping into this world is because it really forced me to learn how to not care what other people think. Because
Yes.
you can't. You can't. You won't be successful
can't.
if you care what other people think about you. So,
No,
Yeah.
have tough skin. That's also part of the reason why I love having Joe on the team because has such a like let it roll off attitude.
Mhm.
Like no one can hurt him. So I kind of picked that up. Like no one can hurt us, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you so
yeah.
much for your time today. It was awesome interviewing you again.
Dude, thank you for having me. Seriously, so
absolutely.
fun to just like sit down and chat about all
Anytime.
these things.
Anytime.
So,
Yeah. Well, hopefully you have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
yes, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
All right, that about wraps up this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you could, please drop us a like and subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date on all of our new episodes. If you want to find out more information on our guests, you can find all of their information down in the description. Have a fantastic week.